Once again, we're here to review the budgets, and tonight we're doing DPW. We have Brendan O'Regan here, who is the DPW Director, Manager, and Town Finance Director. My only update would be next week, we plan on taking a double schedule, town boards and town hall. And then the following week, we will be taking debt and employees' benefits and other departments. And then the following week is school vacation, and we won't be meeting, but hopefully we'll be able to get some information in the warrants and everything by then. But we'll have that. We'll have to play by ear. So we got tonight, 2 weeks in a row, week off because of school vacation, and then we'll be back in session, etc. And hopefully we'll be able to have some information, and the warrant will be closed, but I don't know anything about that just yet.
Include, and also, Mr. Chairman, at some point with the,
I already told them the
water.
water rate and
Yeah.
sewer rate analysis. And that's it. If you have an update, you can give us an update. Brendan, you're on.
Well, the budget, as you see before you, is relatively level funded. There's a request for some minor increases in a couple of things. Highway, a main item for highway maintenance, which is where we fund some of our unanticipated repairs, like catch basins that may collapse, things along those lines. But as a general rule, parks, I believe, is level funded. Forestry is essentially level funded. Minor increase in the item that we have for private contractors to help us out, whether it's mainly stump work, but tree work as well. To speak in more detail about water and sewer, but they're essentially level funded as well, other than, contract increases and things along those lines. But two main increases on the sewer side is sewer cleaning, going from 80,000 to 100,000. Sewers are getting older, more things being discharged over longer periods of time requires things to be cleaned out. There's accumulations of fog, flat soil and grease and things along those lines, and cause sewer backups. So that's the one line item in sewer that's increasing. On water, the main line item that we pay our water breaks out of, there's a request for an increase there as well. We did have a significant amount of water breaks this winter compared to last winter. The increase that's requested is actually what equals our spending from not last year, but the year before that. So I believe it's in line with our spending, definitely under the inflation rates that have taken place over the last couple of years. It wasn't that long ago when we were bidding a water main job that you would be all, when I say all in, I mean design, construction, permitting, you pretty much pay $400 or $500 a foot for water main work. We're over $1,000 a foot now, and that's low bid cost that we're paying these days. So I think the budgets reflect that, but for the most part, they reflect modest to no increases in various line items.
Okay, thank you, Brendan. So then let's, get right to the budget and just review it. Page 39, which is salaries. You can see the request is below fiscal 25. I don't know if there's any questions, but it's below. And then expenses, that's for forestry, I'm sorry. And then expenses for forestry is for page 47. Any questions there? So, slight increase in maintenance and paving, and it all goes to, you know, basically the analysis that the director just gave us. You know, the increases are in some cases quantum leaps to us, but, like he says, those are all competitively bid. I mean, it isn't up a whole lot, considering it's only up like 48,000. Any questions from the committee? DPW administration, page 38, and then 46. Yes, Deb, go right ahead.
Just want to know what the increase in the temporary positions is
It's summer help.
somehow.
So each year, you know, there's ebbs and flows with the amount of kids that we have. Generally, the more kids that we can hire for summer help does wonders, I think, for the appearance of the town. You know, painting sidewalks, fire hydrants, picking up trash, brush cutting, really a huge assistance. So we actually, in the last few years, have now, like, kids that have worked with us to go into college, they get out, as soon as they're out of college, we're happy to take them back. And so we try to get them right back to work. And as soon as they want, even some of them, we have like work for a couple weeks over break sometimes. And anybody that's new, we try to bring them on. So it's interesting because over the years, we've gone through where kids don't wanna work full-time at all, so then you gotta hire more kids and kind of balance, like where they work 2 or 3 days a week. And then there's other times where you get kids that wanna work the full week, so that, you know, we're trying to balance that.
Any other questions? No, then page 46, which is expenses. Level funded. Any questions?
Nope.
Highway department. Oh, excuse me, engineering, page 57.
So with engineering, I think we talked about this, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, last year, and we've talked about this as far as trying to,
You talked about it last week, I think.
yeah, building up the department and, trying to get more support for DPW, development, inspectional services, planning board, et cetera, GIS.
So he'd be also in support of inspectional services.
All of it, yeah, really, planning department, planning board,
Now,
DPW.
that's good, because we used to have a part-time person for that. And
Yeah.
we know that they did a great job for part-time, but it wasn't adequate for the community.
Yeah, it's just a lot, everything is obviously, as you know, when people file things, there's constructive approval, there's timing issues, a lot more that we're handling and dealing with on a regular basis than we were, you know, 5 years ago.
Any questions on that? I mean, he explained that last week to us, the manager did. Highway and DPW capital, page 40, 48, and 56. Page 40. Committee have any questions on page 40? No? You can go to page 48.
You know, just to reiterate, I think these are, you know, everybody wonders about how much money is enough, you know, whatever, but these are obviously areas that, you know, you could increase by $1 million and be able to spend it, so it's a matter of, you know, how much money we have budgeted, things that we plan or handle, to deal with on a regular basis, and things that you might be able to take on during the year, and things that you can try to pay through capital if they're more substantial, but all these things in DPW are, you know, resident facing and directly affect some of the services in the town, in our response time, so, obviously all these departments could use more, for sure, much more, within these, service-related departments.
Any other questions? And we just covered engineering, page 56. That's the salary end of it. Here's our favorite one. Page 41, snow and ice. So, Wendy, do you have that number?
About a $900,000 deficit,
900.
950. Hopefully all the bills are in.
Yeah, we
And
know
all the
that's,
s- and
we
all the
always know
snow
that's
is
a
over.
moving target,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's slow, but 950,
Everything is more, you know, then people say, oh, we had a few things, but you know, I say this, and I've been saying it for 3 years, of that we haven't really had many major snow events, just a couple. The cost of what we used to spend 5 years ago on a storm and ice and snow, on an event, is when we actually have a legitimate winter that lasts all thing, you know, we're gonna be talking, every community's gonna be talking about much more substantial costs within, snow, you know, snow and ice, costs. I mean, 900, we really only had a couple of storms, and there were, you know, 3 or 4 storms that were a few inches. One of them might have been a little bit more, but, you know, that's, you know, we used to spend $1 million and thought, you know, that was a whole winter before, back in the day. Now this is only for a few events. If we get some major stuff, you know, I think we're gonna be up in just like other communities, we'll be in the $3 million plus range. So that, we have to keep that in mind with, you know, as I remind everybody how we pay for this within the year we have it. That was not a practice that happened years ago, and you carry over a legal deficit, which they allow, the DOR, and then have to raise it in the next fiscal year, so you'd have to have, basically take the money out of next year's appropriations first before you could budget anything. So this will be, obviously, we'll be looking at, as we do each year, money in free cash to pay for this.
well, we've seen worse than this, and
Yeah.
this year was a crazy winter, you know. Even when you get like 4 inches of snow, you have to go out there, you have to treat it, you have to, you know, plow it and then treat it, so I thought the staff did a great job, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you.
it's pretty challenging sometimes, but,
And I always say it publicly, the storms that are the most challenging and the most difficult are when they're 2, 3, 4 inches, because you don't know.
You can't predict
You can't predict, and then you don't know, should you do this, is this gonna be enough if you pre-treat the streets? And those are the most frustrating, where if you had a lot of snow, everybody gets it and says, okay, I'm gonna stay off the roads until everything gets cleaned up, and if it's 3 or 4, everybody says, well, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm going to the supermarket, and they wanna be able to drive in the middle of the storm. And those are more challenging to deal with, or how fast it comes down. This year, I think we're a lot better than last 2 years, where last couple of years before this, we had where we had events, and then it would turn to rain, and then it would turn to deep cold, and it would be,
Yeah.
everything would be
Would
frozen.
go, this year it went from snow to rain to, ice
Yeah,
coming down,
Yeah.
and then it turned solid, like
Yeah.
you said, it was
Yeah.
horrible,
yeah.
so. Well, I'm not surprised at that number.
And just to kind of give an update too, yeah, just to give updates too, I think we with the, as you know, with the supply chain issues, we've ordered a couple of, I think, four total 5-ton trucks to replace the ones we've had. I think we've received delivery on two now. So we had, it took, I think, almost year and a half,
Yeah.
almost 2 years to get the second one. We still have 2 that are on order, so these take, it's like the fire truck, everything is a lot longer to get, and nothing in stock. We even tried, I mean, we did okay this year, we tried doing some leasing and whatnot, but there's just, it's not out there to be able to do that. But to replace these, you know, obviously we looked at things like, you know, stainless steel, you know, beds and
Yeah.
things like that, and plows that rotate both ways, which the other trucks didn't have. Things that'll last longer, and we're taking care of those, so we're very appreciative. I know the DPW are very appreciative of the support from Selectmen, Finance Committee, and Town Meeting, because having that equipment is just, from a safety issue, is tremendous. I mean, the vehicles that we're replacing are, I don't know, what, how old are they?
They're around the, around the millennium, changed
Yeah.
from 1900s into 2000.
2000s, yeah, so
So
that's
those things
how-
take a beating.
Yeah.
Just the-
You know, you can't ask the men and women to do their job if you don't give them the right training, equipment, and things to work with, so. And plus, it's a safety issue too. you
Just
know.
in vehicles, as everybody else knows, if you have a vehicle, much more difficult to get inspection stickers. We certainly can't put people in
Yeah.
vehicles that can't obtain an inspection sticker. That whole thing has changed now, we're in a
Yeah.
different era. but-
And Brendan, I agree with the chairman, I think the DPW did a fantastic job,
Thank
and I
you.
think oftentimes people get
Yeah.
frustrated, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's very appreciated.
On behalf of the ladies and gentlemen, just want to express our thanks to all of you. You know, you're going through the night, you know, multiple times, a winter, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, you're just waiting to see that first break of light so you get your second wind, and it's, and I was saying earlier that these last, the 2 weekend was the long weekend, Martin Luther King weekend, and then President's Day weekend, pretty much going straight through, so.
And on top of that, we had a couple of water breaks in the middle of,
Exactly.
in between 2 of the storms and during one of the
Oh,
storms
that's
before
right.
it came,
Yeah.
so.
But thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, let me see, street lighting, pretty straightforward, it's level funded. Motor pool and vehicles, 42, 51, and 52. That's where you expect to see an increase. They're not that bad. Any questions on page 42?
None.
Very small increase. Page 51 and then 52. It's level funded. We have a lot of things on the municipal side that are minimal increases and level funded, and as the manager says, there's no doubt about it, you know, requests could go off the chart, but I think, the department heads and manager and his staff are cognizant of the fact that you can't do everything all at once. It has to be planned out and take, the most important things first.
And Mr. Chairman, I would add, you know, just to, if it's sort of, I've seen a change in it, and Brendan, I think, can contest in Windy is that even, you know, us buying new vehicles has definitely had a major impact on maintenance and trying to deal with putting Band-Aids on other vehicles. But because of the cost of new vehicles, it's actually, have had a different approach in the last couple of years of looking at some of the vehicles that if you put a little bit of money into them and do preventive stuff, which we've sort of doing that now, where we're inspecting the vehicles on an annual basis, a certain pool of them, and if there's dents or whatnot, we're repairing those so that they don't turn into rust and different issues where you can't get a sticker later, even though the car's got good bones or the truck. So we're doing a lot of that. We're also looking and analyzing whether it's worth, and we've done this on a few vehicles, putting X amount of dollars into the vehicle to really do major repairs so that you'll get another 5 years out of it or 6 years, rather than buying some of these vehicles now are $70,000 or $100,000 for some of these trucks. So we've been, you know, I've seen that change over the years, in the last couple of years, so.
Well, I mean, we all know, you know, and remember when we used to just beat equipment into the ground. You know, you couldn't get rid of it, they were unsafe. I remember once we had, one of our, what do you call it, dump trucks burn,
Yeah.
you know, with somebody in it. Thank God he didn't get hurt, but, you know, you can't put, you know, a price on safety, you know, and safety is predicated on maintenance and knowing and observing what needs to be done and replacing them when necessary. I mean, you know, in the very beginning, I do remember this committee got pushback by some town meeting members and some selectmen saying, do we have to do everything now, et cetera? And our answer is, no, you don't have to, but it's the responsible thing to do. And not only financially, but for safety reasons, because if you put something off 2 years, that price isn't coming down, it's going up, you know, so.
And I can remember, I mean, you know, just from my own personal thing, when I was on the police department, when I got on there, we had vehicles over 100,000 miles.
That was
So
typical.
the line cars where you'd be driving the vehicle and a wheel would come right off the vehicle.
Yep.
And snap off. I mean, that's the type of, because those are wear and tear.
We-
We stopped buying cruisers for a long time. Now we have a really good program that, you know, they have some older stuff that that can't be used at their auction, doing like an online auction, but having those vehicles and being able to filter them through the fire department and using them for second line and detail vehicles has been, you know, a really good program.
Well, we had one
Committee.
member on the committee, some of us remember, Henry Holmes, who, that was his biggest concern. And at one point in time, we used to do turnovers of our cars on a regular basis so that they were all safe. They didn't reach that, you know, level of 100,000 miles on it. And then it started going from 12 vehicles to 10, right, Terry? To 8, to 6,
To
to
none.
4.
To none. And
Yeah.
none. Ed Collins was the one that really pushed that back in the early 90s.
Yeah, you know, and we couldn't understand that, and, you know, if it wasn't brought to us, you know, we can't make a recommendation on we should go there. We can only act upon what's presented to us. But I know I, for one, am happy to see where we are with, you know, our program of keeping safe, newer vehicles for the staff, whether it's, you know, DPW, fire, police, et cetera, so.
But, and you can remember, I think you sat in, we did years ago, and we've been using that, but we did a vehicle maintenance replacement program where we analyzed each vehicle, how many miles, what years they have, and then when they would need to be replaced, you could actually structurally budget things and look at what capital expenditures you need to submit to buy certain vehicles and replace them, and we've kind of gone by that.
You know, we used to get a list every year of all the vehicles that were in the town, and it was incredible to see the dates and the mileages on these vehicles. It was frightening, to be honest with you. I mean, they were like 20, 25 years old, and they were still being used, whether it was,
And
you
the
know,
motivation-
cemetery, DPW, you know, forestry, whatever it was.
And the motivation for that was probably to show people how bad it was, to see if you'd say, okay, can we buy one vehicle or two vehicles? You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah, one or
more
two.
than anything, yeah, to say this is what the examples are.
So you just described it, it's like a, kind of like the life cycle of the vehicle.
Yes.
So are we entered into an agreement with a vendor?
No, so we do off a state bid list,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of times
Okay.
we get those, and so that way we don't have to, we can go out and have, different, dealerships bid on it, but generally we look for the state bid list, and they specialize in municipal vehicles, they're
Gotcha.
built differently sometimes, like the police cruisers and things like that,
Mhm.
and then the cost of outfitting them, but that's
Oh, I didn't
generally
know
how we
that.
do that, we ask for a quote, whatever's off the state bid list, and every town or city can use that bid list because there's a set price for that type
Oh,
of
so
vehicle.
they can use that as a benchmark going forward
Correct.
for all their expenditures,
Yep.
capital.
So if you're looking for like a dump truck for the DPW, they have a state bid list usually that will have this type of vehicle, you can look at it. Otherwise, you can go out and look for, a thing, it's a little more complicated to do that, but,
Gotcha.
there's different
Yeah.
companies that are on the bid list and they specialize in that. So it makes it easy. You want a certain type of cruiser, you have couple different choices, there's a few different ones on that list, and then you just buy it off the list, and they're cheaper, obviously, than the general
Interesting.
public. Yeah, quite a bit.
Thank you, that's very interesting.
Cemetery, on page 44. Any questions on page 44? If not, we can go to page 54, if there's no questions. If I'm not mistaken, that's level funded too. And if there's no questions, we can go to page 45 for parks.
And just a reminder, Mr. Chairman, we're in the process now of putting together different capital, articles for the DPW and other departments that, we generally put in some of them each year with a placeholder, and some other ones that are, certain initiatives that we're, continuing with. You'll see those in,
That'll be
next
on
few
the
weeks.
annual town warrant.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep, there's a, increase there, for the parks. I'm sure it's maintenance, maybe some salary. Salary looks contractual. Basically, that's all it is. And then page 55 for parks. And that's level funded too. There's no questions there. If anybody has any other questions on the actual budget for DPW, and if they don't, we'll move on to the enterprise funds. I'll let, as usual, I'll let Wendy start with water, right? Is that the first one? Yeah, water is the first enterprise fund in the book. And if you wanna point out some things that are important or not.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
On the water enterprise fund budget, what I can really speak to is, a little bit is the MWRA assessment. We've been, sent preliminary recommendations on the assessment for FY '26 at 5.3 million. That's down a little bit from where it was for FY 24. That's based on our flow share of, the total water consumed throughout the MWRA water community, and what their operating budget is for the upcoming fiscal year, and then they calculate everyone's flow through. The rest of the budget I would, leave to Brendan to speak to. I will say that we're working with the Abrahams Group again on the water rate analysis in preparation of, discussions for the FY '26 water rate. The debt portion of this budget is, based on the existing debt service schedules. I do have an estimate for amounts that, would be borrowed this spring from previous appropriations that were voted last year or maybe the year before, so, we're working with our financial advisor now in preparation of a bond issue for this, June.
So the assessment, it looks like it's the same,
Yeah, I think that's a typo on our part.
okay?
Let's see if I have it here. The 26 number is correct, but I think the 25 number,
Is wrong.
yeah.
Yeah, 25 is
Good, I was gonna,
slightly higher than
Yeah,
26.
5,363,922 is what the 25 assessment was, and it's 5,357,000, so it's just slightly lower. We'll fix that. I just noticed that.
well, I guarantee that the decrease in the flow there, a good portion of it is from our I&I, you know, that we've done, and the leaks that we've controlled. Not the I&I, the leak control that we've been going over.
Yeah.
So kudos to DPW and Brendan for that.
It's really, the guys are the ones that are out there in the middle of the night, you know, fixing the repairs and things like that, and the manager's reference, you know, snowstorms, whatever. The ladies in the office are just trying to keep customers informed, you know, how quickly, you know, they're gonna be out of service. That's a very important thing to us, is to let the customers know how long they're gonna be without water. And the quicker we get it done, the less water is wasted, and the NWA assessment goes down, as well. One of the other things that, yourselves, the managers, selectmen, have been very good to us is the hydrant and valve replacements. You know, by having valves placed at certain strategic locations that we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, when we do have a break, we're able to shut down smaller sections of town, putting less people out of service for shorter periods of time. So thank you again for those,
Are there any
Uh,
other things
confidence in us.
in this budget, you know, for capital or plans or anything on the water end that you'd like to speak about? I know we have the meter replacement.
It's probably gonna be more the fun, what the manager was referencing a couple of minutes ago about the appropriations that are coming in the near future.
Yeah, so some of the things I think, I don't wanna jump the thing, but with sewer, we're looking at doing, more things that have to do with replacing some of the sewer meters. So we have meters that
Oh, okay.
calculate the sewers, so that's gonna be a separate appropriation, part of the $4.3 million overall project. So we'll be reassessing, a lot of the areas that were originally done with the I&I analysis, to see where we're at, and maybe it's been, almost 20 years?
The initial,
2006.
metering of the system by Camp Dresser was done in 2006, so kind of basing our efforts on 20-year-old data, it's time to, you know, update those reports, so it's based on more present data. So we're going to those areas that are leaking at the highest, amount, so we're doing this in the most cost-effective way. We're getting the biggest leaks out as quick as possible.
So basically updating the master plan that's
Exactly.
been part of this I&I program, and then also in that, putting new meters out, replacing those as well,
Right. That's on the water end.
on the sewer end.
On the sewer end.
Yeah.
The meters that are at the pumping station?
Different areas that, keep track of, like we have meters.
Oh, they're at different areas, not just the
What would
pumping
happen in this,
station?
what would happen in this study is they would set it meters in 26 different areas. We have
Oh,
26
okay.
sub-areas. They would isolate these 26 sub-areas, put the meters in, collect data for months at a time, dry weather, wet weather, based on the data will show which ones are leaking the most, so.
And then that way there, we can better address the ACO
Go-
and the
go-
I and I.
And do the worst ones first.
Yeah, so obviously understanding that, like, they're gonna analyze when when it's raining,
Sure.
right? If it increases, then you know it's infiltrating, that's sort of the
Yeah,
scientific
impact
analysis, yeah.
Okay, and then, no sense in discussing it, like you said, right now, we can wait
Yeah.
for the, what do you call it? The warrant for the meters, when we'll get more information on that. Other than that, the sewer. Where's the sewer? There's the sewer. Yeah, it's on, well, it was before, right before water. I think. Sorry for taking it out of order. It's all contractual on the salaries, and overtime is slightly increased. The expenses. So the overall budget's not up significantly, but for this department. So the debt service only went up a couple $100,000. Was that for additional work that we've done from the previous year? Or is that wouldn't be interest, would it?
No, it takes into consideration the upcoming borrowing.
Oh, it's
So
future
previous,
borrowing.
yeah, previous articles, cause we'll have a first, at least a principal payment, but, could be principal and interest payment in FY '26. So I have to estimate for that. We
Okay.
don't know what the numbers exactly are at this point. The other thing I'll speak to, Mr. Chairman, is the operation and maintenance expense. $2,015,000, for FY '26. So, in working with the Abrahams Group on a sewer rate analysis, we get into some in-depth detail. Matt Abrahams does with the, Lynn Water and Sewer Commission, Ryan Boisel. And they provide us, based on our share of the flow and estimate, and then Matt has a whole calculation that he does behind the scenes, and he and Ryan go back and forth to talk largely about the debt service that's coming online. They've taken on, I think we've talked about it for at least 3 years now, but I think the first borrowing of $37.8 million has initiated with the Mass Clean Water Trust. So it's a low interest loan, it's not zero like the MWRA. And so we have a debt service payment in FY '26. And then it really kicks in, the following year, and then, I don't know if it's over the next 3 years, then they'll initiate the second $37 or so million in capital improvements that will get passed along to the communities that are part of the commission based on the flow share, so. Again, I think it goes to, the work that is being done to reduce the I&I in the system, help control the cost and the flow share. We don't have control over the capital piece as much. We have control over the amount of flow that goes through the commission for processing, so.
And I know that Lynn's on an ACO too, at least I believe they are, and I know they're doing a total rehaul of their system. Do we know anywhere, how
I
far
don't know
along they
anything
are?
about the city of Lynn, no. I
Because-
just know that this capital I'm speaking of is, for the plant, the actual processing plant with the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission, so,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, one of the other things, and I don't know if they mentioned it or Brendan did, but one of the other things, part of the sewer, the 4.3 million that we did before, been appropriated, that we've been doing, that,
Lincoln Ave.
work at Lincoln Ave. Part of that, in the next phase, we're gonna be expending some of that, appropriation that's already been appropriated, but one of the last phases was to look and assess and evaluate the main that goes from our station all the way to the Lynn sewer station, so that's all through Lynn as well, so that we're responsible for maintaining it, so we're gonna do an analysis to try to figure out where we're at, and then, once we get that data, then obviously having a plan, the future, if something needs to be replaced or different done, of phases of doing that, because that would be quite expensive.
So I knew that our sewer, all our sewer needs are handled by Lynn Sewer. And I knew that this pipe, because we've known that this pipe was eventually gonna have to be replaced or repaired or whatever. Where is the exit point in Saugus for that pipe? I've always wanted to know, and where is the entrance of it into Lynn? Do you know, Brendan?
The exit is at the back of the main station, about 15 to 20 feet underground.
And that main
At the main station
station,
on Lincoln Ave.
Lincoln Ave?
24 Lincoln
the
Ave.
Lincoln Ave pump
So
station,
then it goes behind K-Pub there. and
Yeah.
Makes its way over to the railroad tracks there that are in Lynn. Shoots down there, can't tell you exactly the direction from there it goes, but all the way to the Lynn treatment plant. And where it enters the Lynn treatment plant, we own to that point. Even if it's in the city of Lynn, we own it, we're responsible for the maintenance.
so we're responsible for the pipe from our community
Yes,
to the plant itself,
Yes.
whether or not it's on Lynn property. For
Correct.
example,
correct,
once we get over that Belden Bly Bridge,
right.
that's Lynn, but we are still responsible for
Right.
it.
Yes, it would be further, it would be further north of that point where the
Right.
force main crosses. But yes, there was a project done, I wanna say in 2010, where we, had to do some work to the force main. It was before I got here. But, in doing so, there was some frames and covers right outside the Lynn plant to access our force main. We had to repair those manholes because they're manholes to our force main, even though they're in the city of Lynn.
Right.
That's what the municipal
So
agreement says.
our pipe is from the K-Pub up to Dungeon Road?
There's a right on, I think it's 1A there, there's a McDonald's there, and then there's a metal, recycling place there, and it's in the back. Exactly the
Okay,
name of
so
the
it's
road.
that one, not the one on Dungeon.
So the line never
Okay.
intercepts
That's
No,
the
that's
other one.
the
The
one.
line is
That's the
a
water
dedicated
sheet.
line.
Is to the treatment plant.
Yeah, it never-
There's
Thank
four,
you.
four dedicated force mains that go to
That's
the
a
Lynn
far
plant.
distance.
The sewer is down
There's
where Boyd's Chip.
Saugus,
Yes, Nahat.
Nahat,
Behind Kelly.
Swampscott, and Marblehead,
Yes, and Lynn.
I mean,
Still
and
long
Lynn,
way.
sorry.
Yeah. So we have approximately 18 to 20% of the total costs, of operating the plant we pay, and that's based on our flows and the strength of our flow, going to the plant, which is why it's so important to keep our flow, as low as possible, going there. That being said, not to be publicists for Lynn or anything, they treat us well. I mean, we get we got, even with the increase in prices that we're getting, if we were going to MWRA, you just heard the assessment prices, that MWRA charges us 5.4, and Lynn's charging us 2.6. Having a pretty good background in water, usually your sewer charges are twice your water charges when it comes to assessments. That ours is half of our water charges.
Right.
That's unheard of.
Yeah,
So-
we've been fortunate in that
Right,
respect,
right.
you know.
Whoever made that decision decades ago made a really good decision, whoever made that decision.
Thank you. If there's no more questions on anything, any of the accounts that Brendan just covered, or the enterprise funds that he and Wendy answered, we're done for our agenda tonight. And once again, next week, the next 2 weeks, we're gonna double up on the meetings. So next week, we will take the town boards and town hall. And then the following week, the week before school vacation, we'll take debt and employee benefits and other departments. And then hopefully we'll have an idea about the ATM at that time. And I can start planning accordingly with the manager and Wendy on that. So we're moving pretty good here. We will not be meeting the week of school vacation. And that's all I have to say.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Brendan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brendan.
For your time.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you all.